Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to one more interesting session on Meipadam and why it's relevant to our lives, why it will remain to be relevant. So today in the morning, I did this pre-class, and Rupa, I was telling everyone that how I have explored other things, but I keep coming back to Meipadam, and it has supported me not just to recover from health issues, but also through injuries and other fitness challenges. So hi, Rupa, and let's take this on today.
Yes, yes, good to be here, Tisha. Good to be back. Hi again, everyone. And we have another very interesting session indeed, looking at different parameters of fitness and the functionality, how functionally it can benefit you through your normal day-to-day activities. So you are the guru on the fitness parameters, Tisha. Why wouldn't we start with the fitness parameter, which is key
Yeah,
to our
let's
personal life?
exactly. So let's take on this small list one by one. So, what we are quickly going to do in this session, uh, everyone, is we are just going to explain quickly how, in a very simple way, how Meipadam provides this parameter and why this parameter is so important, critical, its functional importance in our day to day life. Okay. So let's get on our list. Rupa,
So the first,
mobility,
yeah, go on.
joint mobility.
Mobility, yes, of course. So again, we have big joints like our shoulder joints and hip joints, which are the big joints, and then we have the smaller joints like the elbow and the knee joints, and even smaller than that are our finger joints and toe joints. So each of them have their range of movement and help in our day-to-day regular functioning. So with the range of motion of each of the joint, different joints have different range of motion, different possibilities. For our ideal optimum health and long-term well-being, we have to keep the entire range of motion active and going. So just doing the same activity repeatedly and just moving the shoulder isn't the best way to handle the health of the joint. It's to go through all the motions and keep doing all the motions so that every element of the range of motion is active, and you never know which range you're going to need at what point. So it is fundamental to our long-term well-being. So we may not use one range on a daily basis, but when you're sort of having a fall and you need a hand to go behind to support you, you wouldn't have quite, we don't do that exercise on a daily basis, but my padam does. So then that keeps the function going and open, those ligaments don't stiffen up, that when you do that they have a pull and they have a tear. That doesn't happen. So the mobility is maintained thanks to the different multidimensional level of Meipadam that we do. Anything that you want to add on the joint mobility, Trisha?
Yeah, you know what? Sadly, nowadays, everyone's lifestyle, like majority of people's lifestyles have become sedentary. Whether it's a homemaker or whether it's an IT professional or whether it's someone into admin work. Unless it's a job that requires hard work on the field, let's say something like some engineering work, everyone's lifestyle nowadays is just sedentary. And then what has happened is that I feel what is happening is it's like people feel as if for their work, for their life, they don't need this kind of mobility.
True.
Right, because for the rest of my life my work is going to be sitting in the chair or just standing for some time in the kitchen. So people don't realize that what is the danger, how dangerous it is to lose mobility over a period of time, right? So it's like, especially as you start to age, and if you combine it with a sedentary lifestyle where you're not taking care of mobility in a holistic way, the degeneration just gets faster,
Yep, yep.
right? Regeneration gets faster. Your, as you just now said, your chances of getting injured just shoot up, right?
Yeah.
Is there, what do you think of this?
Yeah, it is. If the body has a very simple rule to follow, every part of the body, if you don't use it, you will lose it. So may it be the range of motion, may it be your brain cell, anything. If you don't use a certain thing in your body, like any machinery, if you don't use for a long time, it gets rusted. It stops working. Similarly, the body. So it pays to be aware as to what are the capabilities of your body and keep doing all of it, even though you don't need it on a regular basis. So it might be going fine till it goes fine, and then one fine day it stops going fine. So rather than wait for things to go bad and then come back from there, it pays to invest in ourselves, in our health now, to keep us long term going stronger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just a quick glance on mobility and Meipadam. Um, let's talk about endurance, cardiovascular endurance. Now, when people look at Meipadam, they think, at least I'm talking about specifically Meipadam, they think that there is no I mean there is no way that this exercise works on cardiovascular endurance when they look at any average Maypadam class.
True.
So what do you think of this?
Of course, it is where you are at with your practice, isn't it? We start off gentle, and in the group classes, especially, there are people of mixed abilities. We keep it accessible to everyone. So in my class, I have a 79-year-old and a 30-year-old, and how do I cater to both? So it is, we keep it more manageable and palatable, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have the ability. Like the next level, you would know, is the tarai padam and stuff, and it is the intensity with which we start engaging with it and taking it. Once you get comfortable, then you can go to the next level and push your body to build up the endurance, isn't it? So yeah, talk a bit more on the more complicated moves on of my paramkrisha. That might help people understand it.
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's very relative. For example, if someone who is, let's say, very unfit and not used to exercising on a regular basis, for them, even a very mild intensity May Padam class is going to increase the heartbeat, right? Whereas if, let's say, someone is athletic, for them, uh, gentle Maypadam class will not do anything to increase their heart rate. But if you do an intense Maypadam class, which involves, let's say, a lot of deep stances and movements, more movements on the floor, or as you talked about Tarai Padam, which is also a part of Maypadam, then that is going to increase the heart rate for them also. So it's like you can modulate the practice of Maypadam depending on who you are catering to, and don't judge our practice by just looking at a
The
bunch
few.
of few movements, right? A collection of 10 movements or 8 movements like
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
And also, let's just quickly touch this topic because we are talking about the functionality. So there is this, there's what trending articles. I see a lot of articles like that on social media, which say that uh, uh, how it's okay to not stress so much on cardiovascular endurance, but you need to focus on lifting just heavy. You need to
Mhm.
focus on lifting really heavy. And, people say that it's okay. In fact, I have also seen some articles, and I, uh, I don't know. I don't agree with the scientific basis that they present, because my own personal experience has been very different in terms of understanding how important cardiovascular endurance is. So, what do you say about this, Rupa? That it's okay to not focus on cardiovascular endurance, but
No.
you just need to focus on lifting heavy and heavier.
Oh, no, no, no. That is just a very, very half knowledge and sort of a very reductionist approach, and sort of your the holistic approach is sort of totally gone in a lot of the modern perspectives, unfortunately. So just to give you a quick intro into the Ayurvedic perspective on exercise, on vyayama, it says, it's very clear. Ayurveda is probably the only field that I know, I'm sure all the traditional medicines would talk about, is where there's a clear understanding of doing something in a balanced way. You shouldn't underdo something, you shouldn't overdo something either. Both will cause you harm. So sitting sedentary and keeping the body convenient and pleasurable all the time is definitely going to kill you sooner. And overdoing it, like you say, lifting, I can do 50, I can do 100, I can do 150, is overdoing it. You're stressing your muscles, you're burning yourself out to no end. The body is still a machinery which has to be balanced, and everybody is different. So somebody who can lift 50 might be able to lift 60 as well, but somebody might be able to do 30 or 40 only and get the same benefit as somebody who's lifting 50 and 60, for example. Or somebody else might be lifting only 5 and 10 and still getting very good benefits out of it. So it is not that you have to lift 50 to get the benefit. So it is understanding where your body is, what your constitution is, where your strength is, and working with that. So we have the body constitution of kapha, pitta, and vata, and each of the body constitutions have different strength, different muscular endurance, different cardio endurance. You have to work with that. Ayurveda also suggests working with the seasons. So it is such a holistic perspective of not just one element. Even there are multiple layers to it. So you have to work with your body constitution, the time of the day, the time of the year, all of it, your environment, everything. So that would ultimately give you what you need, rather than what's trending on TikTok, which is working for somebody else and giving a muscle tear and a ligament tear to somebody else, right? So, and I unfortunately don't see this perspective spoken about much, which is a much more healthier, probably less exciting to go on TikTok. Something more balanced is not exciting on TikTok. It has to be extreme, it has to kill somebody, then it is trending. You see.
Yeah. It has to be dramatic. It has to be hyper stimulating. But that also, I just quickly mention as we move to the next point is that, um, uh, you know, uh, I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and he was saying that how critical it is to lift heavy, and then how critical it is to get that quantity of protein every day. If you see now in this season, especially, most parts of India have become very hot, very, very hot. So there are two things you have to remember. You shouldn't be working out in a way, at least if you are in a place that is so hot, is that it will dehydrate you.
Correct.
Okay. That's
Correct.
first thing. And then second thing is also, your diet should be in such a way that it helps you to reduce inflammation, cooling your body. So
Mm.
it has to change. You have to keep these things in mind, rather than just shoving protein down your
Yeah.
throat
Loading your kidney
without.
and ruining your kidneys in the long run. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, you're right. Exactly. Um, yeah. So I think, okay, before I forget this, but I think we need to do two more sessions. One specifically on our own journey through injuries, so
Mm.
that people understand that we are not some genetically blessed and who have never been touched with illnesses and injuries. And
Yeah.
also one more session on specifically this topic of what should be the maximum age limit. What is the maximum age limit to practice Meipadam and Karlakattai? So we are going to take this up in the future.
Absolutely.
But let's move on to the next point, which is muscular endurance.
Yes.
Rupa, how would we describe muscular endurance to someone in a very simple language?
Yeah, so cardiovascular endurance that we spoke earlier was about improving the functioning of your heart. So it is able to function higher, efficiently with a lower heartbeat. The lower the heartbeat, the more healthier your cardiovascular system, your heart and your circulation system. So even with activity, it shouldn't shoot up crazy high, but it should be able to manage. That is what athletics have a resting heart rate of 33. So that is the best you can get. So heart is capable of more. Similarly, the muscular endurance is where the muscles have the power to push through. So it is not that I can. So it is a comparison between a sprint and a marathon. So in a marathon, you have to run for whatever 36 kilometers or whatever continuously non-stop, whereas a sprint is just 100 meters. So a lot of people can manage the sprint and just push through, but the marathon is where people will normally struggle more and not want to go there. So that is muscle endurance, to put in simple terms, right? Where your muscle has got the ability to keep firing and not fatiguing. You're building up the stamina and the strength in your different types of muscles to hold and continue for longer, right, Trisha?
Yeah, and also it's also very important in terms of maintaining the health and fitness of your muscles as you age. So having a good muscular endurance is very very critical because otherwise, as you start to lose muscle mass, especially as you age,
Yep.
then that's going to affect a lot of aspects in your life,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So the strength will
Absolutely.
go down, and just
We become more prone to
everything.
falls. Yeah. Mm.
Exactly, yes, yeah, yeah. So that's why muscular maintaining a good muscular endurance is important, is functional, it has functional importance.
Yes.
um, Moving on to neuromuscular coordination.
Yeah.
So why is that important in our day-to-day life?
So again, neuromuscular coordination is nothing but uh, coordinating different groups of muscles in a coordinated way, like the name suggests. So that requires a nerve input as well. That's why it is neuromuscular. So it is like moving my right arm in sync with my left hip or left leg needs a bit of thinking, and a lot of people will sort of pause and think, am I doing it right? So it is that sort of a thing which fires both sides of your brain. So it is beneficial to the brain, which then uh, um, fuels the coordination, which again functionally is needed. You might need to stop something from falling on one side and something from rolling on the other side, and you might need to stretch your leg to do that and arm to do this, which is neuromuscular coordination. So it has a function in your day-to-day life. And of course, Meipadam does it beautifully, where it has a lot of most of the exercises I think would do support all the parameters we have mentioned. Cardiovascular, of course, we discussed the muscular endurance as well. The more you practice, the more you sustain with it. That is, of course, fed into. And the neuromuscular coordination, I think, is more unique to Meipadam than anything else I have seen, which don't focus on this sort of bringing in different groups of muscle, the head, the hip, the shoulder, the ankle, getting different ones together. They will probably do one or two and on the same side and maybe not do the other and stuff like that. It's sort of not there fully, I feel. Have you had any other sort of type of exercise which gives you the same feel as Meipadam, you think, Risha?
No, not really. Not really. Meipadam on a very foundational level, and then at the next level, martial arts. But
Yeah.
the way the way our brain behaves when we are doing Meipadam is actually the natural way that our brain needs to and wants to function. Okay, our brain is not actually, it's not capable evolutionarily, it's not built to not work in that way, to
Correct.
not exercise it on a daily basis like
Yep.
that, and which has completely gone out of our daily life, right? We There are no activities which are deliberately making our brain to work on achieving that neuromuscular coordination. So you're getting your daily dose of keeping that part of your brain active, and just keeping your brain from degeneration by working on neuromuscular coordination through Meipadam movements.
Yep.
So yeah.
So yeah, that's unique. What about dynamic flexibility?
Yeah, flexibility. So that's I think flexibility Personally, for me, Rupa, it has been that whenever I have worked on flexibility in a complete way, not just like dynamic flexibility, but even like static stretches, just the recovery time of the body becomes better. Uh, Aches and pains come down, chances of injuries again decrease, and it
Absolutely.
also helps to decrease the overall fatigue or tiredness in the body. So, working with flexibility, whether it's dynamic or whether they're static stretches, really just increases the energy levels in the body. And I think that's also one of the reason you must have also heard from your students that why they feel so fresh after any Meipadam class, right?
Yeah, they
Please
generally
add to
feel
this.
much lighter, is what the common feedback is, isn't it, Tisha?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So about dynamic flexibility, Rupa, why it's functionally important for us?
So flexibility, like you rightly said, is absolutely important, and body was not built to be not flexible. It is meant to be flexible always. Like I said, how the body needs to be, the best example is when you see a toddler. That is how the body needs to be: flexible, agile, light, moving. That sort of, that is how humans were built to be until our so-called modern world took over our lives. So that is your benchmark. So as for dynamic flexibility, if you compare it to normal static flexibility, the main difference is I personally prefer dynamic flexibility more, for the reason that I feel it is more gently nudging your body. And it's sort of, you can be a bit more aware than in static flexibility. So in static flexibility, when you're trying to do a turn or a twist, you just tend to do it. You don't think about it. But whereas with dynamic, you're gently nudging into the turn, you're gently moving, you're warming up the body to then get flexible. So I think it's a much more gentler, and you able to push yourself a bit more. And the body feels a bit more safer that way, I feel, rather than all of a sudden turn it, gently, coaxing it into the turn. I feel the body is much more relaxed to do it, and we get the breath going with it. Most importantly, that is extremely, extremely important. And that sort of calms the body to then achieve the proper flexibility needed more effortlessly, and like you say, with massive drop in chances of you injuring yourself or straining or spraining any part of your body.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, you're right. It's like with each repetition, gently with each repetition, we are working on increasing the flexibility. So it's a lot safer, definitely. And that's why, with Meipadam, you see with the practice of Meipadam, people experience increasing in flexibility, but they also find it surprising that they weren't actually doing any stretching as such, but still the flexibility improved. And that's
Right.
because Meipadam works on what we can say is dynamic flexibility. And it's like, so that's interesting, right? It's like now we are talking about all these parameters of fitness, but if you see, generally nowadays fitness, or for the last few years, it has just focused on these superficial and gross pointers like flexibility, and without even explaining all this about flexibility, what types of flexibility, musculoskeletal strength, and just cardio, right?
That's
Whereas as we are seeing there are so many
layers
components
to
to
it.
fitness,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's together
isn't
that
it?
you get the ultimate fit body, rather than not just focusing on strength, like you say, lift weight, and then ignoring everything else. That is not a very balanced approach for the body to be functioning, isn't it? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
And
And we tend to compromise one with the other. So it's about striking a balance. If we focus just on the strength and not at all on the flexibility, then you're going to have all this built up body with zero flexibility. So it's like that oak that will break rather than the grass that will bend. That sort of a logic. The body will always compromise and build itself when you balanced approach to fitness is there.
yeah, yeah, you're right. And that brings us to next 3 points, which as we start talking about them, all the viewers who are watching, you'll notice that they are considered in these, alternative pockets of health and fitness, and not so much in the mainstream, right? So let's first talk about fascia health.
Yeah, yeah.
So nowadays you will see there is a few like handles or articles or courses trending on social media suddenly, so which are, let's say, talking about fascia, or coming to our next point, let's say lymphatic detox. So it's like people are slowly waking up to these all these structures in our body that are important and useful. But we have been doing this work about educating all the fitness coaches for last 3 years. I think, as even your lectures, what you're teaching all the teacher training students about fascia health. So let's just understand quickly about the functionality of fascia health in our day-to-day life, Rupa.
Fascia is an absolutely fascinating topic if you go on to look to it, and I could talk the entire day on it. So I will try and keep it as brief as I can. It's one of my favorite topics, and I came to it accidentally. Even in the medical world, it's been ignored for the longest of time as just looking at it as packaging material and fillers. You don't have to pay attention to that. Has been the perspective for decades, and it's only in the last maybe decade or so, last 10 years or so, that medical professionals have been started looking at it, and it is slowly seeped into the more bigger population where like, oh, there's something called fascia and we need to pay attention to its health. So basically, to put in very simple terms, fascia is there everywhere in your body, head to toe, in different shapes, in different forms, but it is there around and in every muscle, every organ, every nerve, you name it. It's there everywhere in the body. It is like the web that connects the entire body head to toe. So if you have 600 muscles, the 600 muscles are not working on their own. So when you sort of are pulling something with one hand, with one arm, or sort of stretching to do something, it is not just the arm muscle or just that shoulder which is working. You're pulling, and that force is being transmitted elsewhere in your body. You will feel it in your feet if you're doing it right, and if you're not pulling with just your muscle but with your entire body weight, as you should be to avoid injury, you will feel it in your foot, in your entire leg. So the force transmission, how does that happen? Fascia, because that is the connecting link which is transmitting and balancing out so that it doesn't strain just that one muscle or just this one shoulder. It is spreading that force everywhere. So imagine how important, and it is crucial for managing your mobility, flexibility, strength. Everything is sort of has a fascia, has a hand in it. If the fascia is damaged, inflamed, which again a lot of people don't realize, they think that the muscle is hurting. No, it's probably the fascia that is probably inflamed. Again, it could be dietary reason, no water enough. A lot of people don't drink enough water. It could be down to that. It could be lack of flexibility, and all of those reasons. So focusing on fascia health, and first looking to understand fascia is crucial. People don't know fascia exists. So I would say a lot of people to just go and look at fascia. And it is head to toe. And since Meipadam works head to toe, it takes care of the entire fascia health in one go. Similarly, the lymphatic drainage too, right? It is, we have lymph again head to toe intertwined with the fascia and the muscles and everything, and moving the entire body is also helping the lymphatic drainage, because like a heart, it doesn't have a motor to push. It is
Yeah.
only a movement exclusively which has to push the lymph against gravity from lower parts of your body into your heart, into the bloodstream eventually. But that sort of movement is crucial for lymphatic detox, which you can passively do it with massage, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's so actually for those who don't know, so lymphatic system is, it's like a cleaning up system of your body, which does a little slightly different cleanup than what your excretory system would do. So it's one of the cleaning up systems of your body, which help to carry the toxins and take them to where they have to go to expel further expulsion out of the body. And for these lymphatic glands to work properly, there are certain kind of movements that we need to do, like in a way that it's it puts pressure on this part of the body or that part. So some points are there. And what many people also don't know is that a lot of your muscular pain has many times, the number of times, shockingly, it has origin in your visceral region. Okay, and that's when fascia and lymphatic detox also comes into picture, because when these systems are not functioning properly, then the only way for your visceral body to send a message of pain to your brain is through your muscles. Okay, it's a very sad thing that but then there are certain ways in which, if you move, then this lymphatic detox is going to become very going to become personally,
Um,
when I started looking into lymphatic detox.
hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, sort of you lost there a bit, but you've come back. Yeah. You sort of the voice is sort of modulating. Yeah, I think now it's back.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now fine.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So I was getting a call. So, anyways, what I was saying is that when I started looking into lymphatic detox and when I started understanding what kind of movements are useful for this, I shockingly found out that these movements we are already doing in Meipadam. So that's about lymphatic detox, and then fascia health, and then lastly coming to emotional resilience. I think we have talked about this in quite a few of our last lectures regarding how especially it's a very interesting illusion that our lives have become more convenient with all the conveniences we have, but actually mentally it has become more challenging. People have more mental health issues now, and that too very different and complicated mental health issues than
Yes.
what we experienced in the past. And Maypadam definitely helps with improving emotional resilience. Rupa?
Yeah. So in my pardon, because the way again from the more traditional perspective, we are letting the preventing any stagnation from happening. Any stagnation of energy anywhere in the body will cause ill health, physical, mental, all sorts. So from that perspective, that movement, every part of the body being moved also contributes to that perspective. And from the Western perspective, it is the endorphin release, which is a feel good hormone, which again makes you feel good. So it helps you, gives you that strength to go past whatever challenge you're feeling mentally. It gives you the strength to just push through. It's not that it's a magic pill and all of your problems go away. That's not what we are saying, but it just gives you that bit of an extra support and strength to live through it and learn to deal with it and go beyond it. Everybody is more
Yeah,
than their problems, right? So it is you, for
yeah,
you to figure it out and get in touch with that deeper self that is much stronger than what you think it is.
yeah. Yeah, so I think we have touched almost all the parameters, the whole list, right?
Yeah, we
We
have.
were trying our best to keep it under 30 minutes, but it's not, it's hard.
Yeah, we failed a bit, but that's
Yeah,
okay, I guess.
yeah. But that's, I think we covered all the parameters, keeping in mind their functionality and, how they are connected to Maypadam. So that was good. Um, I hope everyone watching found this useful. And yes, we'll come up with one more useful and interesting topic very soon. But before we go, Rupa, any last words?
That's about it. I think there's lots of food for thought from what we have spoken about today. And if anybody has any questions or wants to know more, of course, get in touch with us, and we can help the best we can. But yeah, look forward to the more other interesting topics we are coming up with about injury rehabilitation and all the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So take care,
Okay,
everyone.
then, thanks. Yes. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again very soon. Thank you. Bye. Bye.